I think that in EC, you can absolutely safely play the keyboard on a gamepad and also have fun. The steering wheel gives the feeling of controlling the truck and not just choosing the direction of movement. That's all. So we've already discussed the visuals of the game, but we haven't mentioned the map at all. The thing is that now I'm playing the bare version with no add-ons. I'm waiting for discounts on Steam, so to speak, for these same add-ons, guys. A huge number. They show us a very large map with many countries and roads. Also, in addition to the official ones, there are mods that open up even greater scope for travel. You can visit different cities and countries. Yes, this is not a cheap pleasure at all. But it is all the more interesting to save money for the next nice thing for your favorite tractor, and with the use of customization mods in the game, it reaches a completely different level. But about mods later. But now it's fun. But it's all the more interesting to save money for the next nice thing for your favorite tractor. And with the use of customization mods in the game, it reaches a completely different level. But about mods later, and now about controls, as I said earlier. At first, my path to 2 was exclusively on an Xbox gamepad. But then a wonderful device appeared in my life, the Trustmaster 300 steering wheel, for which many thanks to my subscribers. Without them, I would hardly have been able to afford it. And on the steering wheel, it is, without exaggeration, one of the best games I have played. I have something to compare with. I constantly play both Asakusa Forza Motorsport, Project Cars, Dirt Rally Gran Turismo, and much more in the racing genre. And I understand perfectly well that these ST2 games cannot be compared, but here we are talking about something a little different. But the point is that the steering wheel does not always give only positive emotions from the game. Sometimes there is not enough feedback. Sometimes there is absolutely no understanding of what is happening with the car, and various other little things that prevent you from fully enjoying driving. In the case of 2, this is not even close in it from the first minutes you understand. All the weight of the car, the position of the wheels, the dimensions. After playing on the 300. I never had the desire to change it to another device. And if you have any doubts, should I take it? Put this patrol game aside. It will become one of your favorite projects. If you sometimes like to drive quietly and relax behind the steering wheel, many write that to play ET with 2, you definitely need a bat-and-box clutch pedal, so to speak, for complete immersion in the game. Of all of the above, I only have a clutch pedal. I use an automatic transmission, and instead of a baton box, I use a keyboard for 300 rubles. And you know what? Works great for me. I don't see any problems here. It may not be 100% immersive, but the game is still a lot of fun. Hello everyone. In this video, I want to share with you my impressions of the game Euro Truck Simulator 2. I met it relatively recently, just a couple of months ago. At that time, I did not yet have a normal steering wheel, and I played exclusively on a gamepad. By the way, the VITS 2 gamepad did not become a problem, but rather, on the contrary, I was pleasantly surprised by the smooth steering and the clear, predictable feeling of driving the truck. That's what playing on a gamepad in EU2 is like on a steering wheel. That's a completely different story, which we'll talk about a little later. Of course, you can find fault especially with the greenery along the edges of the road or with the perfectly round road markings at the turn. But, in general, the picture that emerges is quite pleasing to the eye, which does not become boring over time and does not begin to irritate. After a 5-hour gaming session, it's worth giving credit to the developers for making a fairly well-developed model of the truck from the outside, and not just from the interior, since most of the time we travel with a view from the cabin, but we didn't come here to talk about the graphics, although she made me extremely happy. Next there is a direct collision with the gameplay and directly about it. We'll talk now. The game greets us and offers us to create our own profile and immediately lets us get behind the wheel. At first we carry out orders using rented cars, since we don't have our own truck. But this does not mean at all what is playing at first. It's not boring at all. We have a clear goal to save up for our one truck, which you are gradually approaching, a rented car. We can choose on our own. It is not at all necessary to go on the same cargo selection menu every time. For the next trip, the car in which we will make this very trip will be displayed. It will correspond to the size and weight of our cargo. And if we decide to drive a heavy load, we will have an appropriate tractor at our disposal, and in this way, we will little by little save up for our own first car. We, of course, cannot buy it and continue to drive a rented one, but in this case, we will lose one very interesting game component to tuning, because in our truck we can modernize absolutely everything from its appearance, from the outside, to customizing the interior and pumping the engine and transmission.